Okay, so I wanted to try a video blog out, so we'll see how this goes. I've been so plagued lately with the fact of temptation and sinning. And, I'll think, oh, just because I had that wrong temptation or I'm faced with this struggle, it's sinning. And I thought that for most of my life until more recently. And, what's the one thing that we, over in the Bible it says that we won't be faced with any temptation greater than what Christ was faced with. But yet Christ is the one who didn't give in to any of those temptations. And if you think about it, every time we struggle with something, we try to find somebody who struggled with the same thing to empathize with and to get advice with. And yet we need to make sure that those people that we go to have come out of it or are coming out of it, because we don't want to get pulled down by the same person. But yet, should we look to those people first, for our advice? Or should we be looking to the example of Christ? Because Christ was faced with every temptation. In the Bible, it doesn't tell us exactly what that temptation was. It practically leaves it open for interpretation as to anything we struggle with. And we should be looking to Him, the one that didn't give in to every single one of those temptations, as our example for us and as our leader, rather than those that have struggled with it. And no, that does not mean that we shouldn't go to those that have struggled with it. Yes, we need that, example and advice sometimes, but we need to look to Christ first. And so many times I'll think, oh, just because I've gotten this temptation means I'm sinning. And that's not the deal. Everyone's going to be faced with temptation, and Satan knows exactly what to tempt you with. Some people may struggle with overeating. Some people may struggle with drinking too much or something like that. And Satan knows what to tempt you with. Everyone is different. Not everyone struggles with the same thing. And, for example, somebody might struggle with gluttony more than another person. And Satan, I can tempt you with that ice cream, but this person I can't. Or I can tempt you with this, another glass of wine, whereas you I can't. And we must watch our mouths and guard our hearts and guard our minds and know that, God is watching out for us. But we must speak against those demonic angels and the demonic realm that Satan is throwing stuff at us. We can't say, oh, well, I may get cancer, but everyone's going to get it. Or it just things like that. We can't speak that over ourselves. Or I may die of this, but everyone dies of something. No, God chooses our path for our lives, and He gives us a choice. I'm going to do this, or I'm not going to do this. He gives us a choice of right or wrong, and we have to choose it. And we are faced with consequences when we choose that wrong path. But just because we're faced with temptation, I struggle with temptations all the time. My mind is a battlefield, as I'm sure some of yours is as well. But I'm faced with temptations all the time. But until I act out on it, I'm not sinning. Everyone's faced with temptation. Christ was faced with temptation, but yet He was sinless, right? So, as long as He didn't act out on it, He was not sinning. And until you overdrink, or you cheat on somebody, or rebuke God's name or something like that, until you actually act out the sin, you're not sinning. And don't be so hard on yourself about just facing this temptation. Everyone's tempted with something. And just because you're having these thoughts or these feelings doesn't mean that you are any worse than anyone else. The Bible says that all sin is equal, and it truly is. And we must remember that. Just because what our government or our political system sees as something greater than something else, all sin is equal. God's judgment is much different than our government's. And He judges everything as equal. And if you choose that wrong path, it's wrong, no matter what. So, remember that the next time you're faced with temptation, you're not sinning. But also remember that you can overcome that temptation. And remember that Christ didn't give in.